DIY.
Producer culture. They have clips here from ATL Jacob and Hit Boy, and they're talking about their favorite part of the music production process and how the longer they do this, the less negotiable it is.
They so used to producers, yo, just email me the record.
Yeah, I ain't doing that because it's like, man, I want to give direction on like what I want to hear. Like, I want to hear what you wanted. I want to hear what you doing, like the ideas you got. I want to give direction of like what I heard when I made this, like.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I always tell Roddy, he be like, man, send the pack. I be like, man, we gonna link up when I see you. Or
right.
like any artist, I just tell them that because it's just more about that vibe. Like, man, you'll get a better song like that most of the time. Not all the time.
When you making the beat, you can speak on it, but is it like, yo, you know who would sound good on that?
Right.
Like,
Facts.
Rowdy Rebel might sound good on that.
Yeah.
But this is the way I want it to go.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And that's what you call producing a record.
Really producing it.
Yeah. And it ain't more, it's more than just talking. Like, you really in there working. Like, you switching around words. You telling him what to redo, or like, you might change up their whole flow by just shifting stuff over.
I like ATL Jacob. The more clips that I see of interviews with him, we've covered him before in videos, I really like his demeanor when it comes to speaking up for himself as a music producer. There are certain producers, and I talk about it all the time, that get in these rooms and they're not given the opportunity to be a producer. I don't want to get into the conversation of beat maker versus producer because I don't have enough hairline left to pull out more hair talking about that. But a lot of quote-unquote beat makers, I'm going to use in the context of the industry, don't get an opportunity to help produce a record because they're not given that respect or they don't speak up for themselves. This is not the first time that I've heard ATL Jacob say, look, I will tell an artist straight up, I'll send you these beats, but I need to be in the room with you because I'm going to give suggestions that may not translate over email, that in the moment decisions or in the moment feedback that is going to sound so much different if we get in a studio together. And I think a lot of producers who are not used to talking like that, or even talking in general because they're introverts, that's part of the reason why you get excluded from the creative process. But it takes a certain amount of confidence, it takes a certain amount of proof of concept to be able to speak like that.
Man, I want to give direction on like what I want to hear. Like, I want to hear what you wanted. I want to hear what you doing, like the ideas you got. I want to give direction of like what I heard when I made this. Like,
how many times, producers, have you made a beat and you have an idea in your head of how a rapper would approach this? Maybe it's like after the 4th or 5th time that you've looped around the semi-finished version of it. You're sitting back, you got your hand on your head, you just imagining who will kill this beat. And you're like, man, so-and-so would be crazy on this. And then you actually get it placed, or you work with an artist locally or whatever that you're working with, and they do something completely different. And you're like, I mean, it's not what I would have preferred, but they paid me. I kind of was hoping for a different kind of approach to it. Remember when Kanye said that on College Dropout? He wasn't expecting to hear the introspective Jay-Z. He wanted the more flashy Jay-Z over his beats, but he was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I need the money. But I feel like as producers start to establish stronger brands, a producer like ATL Jacob extends his catalog. He's able to go to an artist and say, you know why that Roddy record sounds the way that it did? Because he allowed me to produce that record. So if you're coming to me because you love the record that he and I did and you want to have success on that level, listen to me as well.
Rowdy, he be like, man, send the pack. I be like, man, we gonna link up when I see you. Or
right.
like any artist, I just tell them that because it's just more about that vibe. Like, man, you'll get a better song like that most of the time.
I love that because what it does is it increases your value. When you tell an artist that is established, no, respectfully, no. The way that I ensure that my name continues to be attached to success is not by just mailing in or emailing in beats. I'm at a level, I'm at a place now where artists that I've worked with built their trust in me. I believe in what I'm doing, and I know that the suggestions that I give are part of the reasons these songs end up being successful. So, if you would like to work with me, I need you in the studio with me. Second slide is from none other than Hit Boy. And he talks a little bit about this same concept.
It's both ways. Sometimes I'll come in and, you know, I might be like, yo, you should start rapping at this bar. Like it might not be the one, or it might be just like a off place, and then I just let him just take it from there, and he usually spark another idea for me. Like sometimes with the hooks, he'll record something and I'll just take the last word of what he said or last line of what he said, fly it back and kind of just structure a hook and then let him finish it out. And it just makes it easy. Wherever he going, I'm going, and we just making it work.
So you'll structure a hook out of something that he maybe intended as a verse.
Exactly.
I heard stories about Dre doing that for like Snoop back on like the Chronic and Doggy Style. Like Snoop would just freestyle something and be like, but it intended it like that's the verse, but it'd be like...
It's about that pocket, the way it's hitting the pocket. You like, as a producer or whoever, if you're a song maker, you will just hear certain things that maybe the artist not paying attention to, and it's like, I'm trying to take advantage of all this shit. This is not.
You feel like that's your job.
So Hit Boy is talking to the power of not only being in the studio with these artists, not just hitting the record button on Pro Tools, but being an active participant, a creative participant in the collaborative experience of creating music with an artist. When an artist has that much trust, and we know Hit Boy is well established with his own name. When artists have that much trust, I feel like that elevates every decision that he gets to make as a producer in the room. But when an artist doesn't have that trust in the producer, we never even get to see what that could be. And unfortunately, from my own experience, from the experience of producers that I know are still actively within the industry pursuing placements, a lot of this is a invest time, invest work, and one day you'll get that opportunity to do that. But a lot of these folks do not want to kill off their opportunities by stepping on toes, which is why I just love so much the experience of independence. When it comes to the artists that I'm working with, I'm typically reaching out to artists that are coachable. I'm reaching out to artists that understand that creatively Curtis has his own direction, but based upon his resume, based upon his catalog, I trust his decision making. I think even more important than their trust is my trust in myself and my trust in my own ideas. I was working with an artist earlier this year that you saw in one of my live streams, the homie Triz. Triz is well established in the independent space, has his own sound. I was listening to the song that we did on the live stream, and there's a lot of things I did in the moment that I'm like, creatively, I'm like, yeah. It took me letting that record sit for a few months and me going back to it just yesterday to really hear it for the first time. I made some alterations to it, sent it over to him and said, what do you think of this? And he's like, man, I love that. That to me shows how much this production, this real producer conversation, wouldn't be even a conversation of value if you do not have artists that allow themselves to be coached. There is no real producer in the room if people don't listen to this real producer. That shows the value of having a trust between an artist and a producer, and why I highly suggest you find an artist where you're at with very similar goals that you have, and y'all get into that studio. Let these suggestions run free. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.